Has your paper been drying too quickly? Or has it been drying unevenly? In my latest video, we painted this rose on damp paper. And I know some of you may have found it tricky painting on damp paper, always thinking that it was the dangerous way to go. Today we're going to explore the keys to making painting on damp paper a really easy task, and you'll discover why famous artists around the world prefer this method over any other. The first thing to consider is using quality 100% cotton paper. For the rose, I used Arches 140 pound or 300 GSM cold press paper. Famous artists you'll find often use heavier papers. Can you imagine? A heavy paper maintains its dampness for even longer. So you see, the more quality your products are, the better they will behave. It makes it so hard for a beginner when you're using materials that are inferior. Okay, so let's stick to some 100% cotton 300 GSM paper. It'll be just great. To prove to you that any cotton paper is better than a non-cotton paper, I'm simply using Marte's cotton rough paper. Now, the second thing is we need to know what results we'd like to achieve. For an uncontrollable spreading, we'll be using wet paper, which is really high and glossy. For varying degrees of softness, we'll be using damp paper. And damp paper is paper that has lost its high gloss sheen, still has a very low satin sheen, and this slowly changes into no sheen. And we can paint throughout the whole process very successfully. And as the paper slowly dries off to no sheen, the brush marks will be getting sharper and sharper. The only thing we have to be careful of is not to add an abundance of water. It means you can add a little bit. Your brush can still be wet, but the excess water has to be tapped off. And then when you'd like super sharp lines, then it's dry paper. That's easy. So let's paint another little rose today, and I'll show you the whole process. So the first thing I'm doing is wetting my paper from the back. I've sprayed it to make it quicker. I've wet my brush. I'm brushing it all out to make it even. When you brush the water into your paper, it also goes in deeper into the fibers of the paper. Now I can turn it over onto my vinyl contact paper that I've stuck to an old placeboard. I'm wetting it from the front and the back. So there we go. And then lay it on a non-absorbent surface. And this is key. If you lay your paper on just some normal MDF board, it is absorbent. Some cardboard or something, it needs to be non-absorbent. You can use a piece of cardboard and just cover it in contact paper. That'll make it waterproof and non-absorbent. And as you can imagine, the paper will stay damper for much longer. The paper is beautifully stuck to the board. No rippling, no nothing. It just stays nice and secure, and it's nice and wet, and it will be nice and damp. I'm hoping you can see that it's very glossy. I'm picking up a little bit of gamboge. I've made it spreadable. At this stage, when there's no other paint on the paper, the consistency of your paint doesn't matter. It'll all still go on nice and smooth. So it's really high gloss at the moment. From this moment forward, I'll be using a timer to show you how the time is progressing. And let's just be patient for a minute or two. Every paper in every household is going to be different because it all depends on the humidity and if it's warm or cool or windy or who knows what. It's all different. We just have to be patient. And that's hard if you're an enthusiastic artist. I have some roses here that might just help me. I'm going to break it off. They're half dead, really. They wouldn't give me a discount in the store when I bought them because a few were completely dead. Anyway, I'm just going to have it here on the side for inspiration. Now, as you can see, the sheen is changing a little bit. It's still shiny, but it's not as shiny as before. and you're going to have to test this to get it to the shiniest that works for you. But if you pay close attention, it won't be so hard. So I need to have a clean brush. I need to tap out the excess water. I'm coming in with some very creamy, straight out of the tube, Aussie red gold. And I'm just going to make a few little shapes like that. So there's like a C shape and like a T shape. And I'm just doing what I did with the other rose, going around and around. As you can see, it's still very wet because the color is still spreading really well. But the thicker my paint, see, look, this is straight out of the tube. I can get those beautiful darks to be beautifully soft. Now that we've come this far, I might just add a little bit more. Look, it's thick, creamy paint straight from the tube because the paper is still very, very damp. I'm washing my brush and drying it. Now the paper is getting a lot less shiny. It's between satin and non-shiny. My brush is wet, dabbed out the extra. So the water is not going to drop onto the paper, but of course the brush is still damp. I pick up a little bit with the very tip of my brush. And now I can make a few C curves. Look, and no disaster has happened. I'm picking up some paint again. And I can feel the wetness on my brush, but I'm not dripping, and that's the key. So I've washed my brush. I've tapped out the water. I pick up a little bit on the tip. I'm actually going to turn this around now because I have too many things here in the way. So I'm coming into this area just like last time. I'm going to point my petals towards the middle. And I'm going to do another one. Yeah, I'll make one more. Right. Now, I've washed my brush. I've tapped out the excess. The brush is still damp. It's just not wet. And I can spread this out if I want to. It's not that dangerous. And now I basically can't see any sheen on the paper anymore. But when I touch it, it's still very, very damp. I'm picking up my 1/2-inch dagger, doing the same thing to it. And I'm going to pick up a little bit of paint on my tip. And let's see, might make petal there. Might have to turn it around. This is what you can do. You can turn things around to make it easier for you. Okay, now I still want the lines to be soft, so I'm still taking advantage of the damp paper. Now watch the timer as the clock skips. This is only because I've cut out a section that, well, nothing happened. So the timer's still going correctly. This is phthalo green. If I add some Aussie red gold to it, I'll get a beautiful, rich, dark green. Now, this paper, there's no more sheen on it, but it still feels very wet. It's not as dangerous as it looks. So now let's add some leaves. This is creamy. This paint is creamy. Adding some more thickness to it. Look, I'm picking up creamy paint. I can even come into this now. It's still damp. It's as wet as can be with my finger. We can add deeper color. Look. Going to mix some sienna into that just over the top of it. Now I'm going back to my dagger. I'm now picking up a little bit of quinacridone sienna. Did you see that? Did you see that? Somehow, in my movements, I splashed a drop of water on there. Now we'll just see what happens. With this, I'm going to create some deeper shadows. So this is quinacridone sienna. I'm careful just to I keep washing my brush and tapping out the excess water because I want to have a straight brush and I want to have the paint only on the tip. And so I have to wash it again. Now I can add I'm adding a little bit of green to the quinacridone sienna just to make the very center a little bit darker. And this is all still on very damp paper. I might even pull a few lines through here. And that's it. Don't have to overdo it. Okay. Now nothing's really happened to that drop of water. Surprise, surprise. You just need to explore and not be afraid. That's the key. My paper is definitely still damp. And out of this damp stage, you can also lift. It's 1.5 hours later, and my paper is still damp to the touch. On damp paper, you can complete a whole painting just in this damp time. So keep it damper for longer, and away you go. If you'd like to learn more about water control in general, have a look at this video here. And remember, just enjoy exploring, practicing, and trying new things out. It's the only way to learn.